Hey, guys. It is Altavis Pelzer here, the voice coach that parts, coming to you with another episode of the Speak Easy podcast, where we go behind the scenes talking about what it means to be the successfully paid speaker or author. I am your host, as you know, Altavis, the founder of the World Voice League, a virtual network of female entrepreneurs coming together to impact social change. I know that you saw the title for today, After the Jump, Learning to Fly, Float, and Fail. Yes, I said and, not or. And we'll talk a little bit more about why there is an and there instead of an or as we're talking to our guests today. So I want to say hello to our guests. Hello.
Hi.
I'm
Happy
super
New Year.
excited. Happy New Year to you as well. Oh my goodness, it's been an amazing year. And we were talking a little bit beforehand. I said this year had its moments where I kind of just felt like Ashton Kutcher was going to come out and say, "Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha, gotcha." But we made it through. We made it through. This is a good thing. A good thing. So I am going to allow you to introduce yourself to this Speak Easy audience, and then we'll jump into today's topic.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for having me and welcome to the audience as well. I'm Sabine Gedeon, a transformational leader, and my business is focused on helping people who are in periods of transition in their lives. And so a lot of my work up until this point has been really coaching people who are looking to make major leaps or making major jumps in life, primarily from a career perspective. And I've worked with individuals who, have worked in corporate and decided that they wanted to do something completely different or start a business. And so that's been the primary focus of my business up until this point. And I'm happy and excited to be here and talk with you guys about my journey, certainly, and offer any tips and tricks that I can with regards to the process of becoming an entrepreneur or the process of transitioning into that next level in life.
So we're going to jump right into this topic because I know that this is going to be a fire discussion. When it comes to learning to fly, float, and fail. So go ahead. I know you have some things to share on this one. Why and instead of or?
Ooh, okay, so as we were talking before, when it comes to starting a business or when it even comes to getting to that place where you decide you want to scale your business or you want to shift focus, there are a couple things that happen, right? At first, there's the excitement of, the possibility of the new, the possibility of the growth, the possibility of the expansion. And then there's certainly enough noise in the market, that makes people believe, oh my gosh, you can make six figures in the first 6 months of starting a business with no market. And so people go into, the new level or wanting to step into whatever that new level is with such optimism, such excitement. And oftentimes that excitement and optimism is almost, they're so blinded by it. I guess that's the best way to say it, that they don't prepare for the growth that is required for them to get to that point. And I'll explain a little bit more on that. So, what I teach around transformation is really that anything that we experience in our external life is really a reflection of what is taking place internally. So that's your mindset, that's your, your thoughts, that's your actions, that's your beliefs. All of these things are, or a culmination of all these things are exactly what are reflected in our external lives. So oftentimes people have this grandiose idea of, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to make six figures in the first year. And I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm not saying that. But in reality, that's usually the exception and not the rule. And we'll find ourselves in places where, we have these lofty goals. We're excited, especially going into the new year, right? 2020 is about to be my year. I'm going to be boss. I'm going to be all these other things. And then we get to start doing it and things don't start working out. And oftentimes what that'll do, a couple things that it'll do internally, it'll start to cause us to question ourselves and whether or not what we're trying to do is really feasible for us. We'll start to compare ourselves to other people because, such and such just launched and she has a group of such, whatever the case may be, whatever the comparison is. And then also too, within that, we lose confidence that this vision that we've had is actually possible for us. And what I've realized for myself, and certainly with working with my clients, is that regardless of what you're stepping into, whether it's entrepreneurship for the first time, whether you're stepping into a new vertical, whether you're looking to scale, whatever the case may be, there is a piece of you that, two things, one part of you has to literally die, and then the other part of you has to grow. So what I mean by that is, if your mindset, or if you're thinking, let's say in terms of money, right? Because that's how we assess our success when it comes to entrepreneurship, or our success in life, right? So your goal is to, make $100,000 a year, and I'm just using that as a even figure. But your mindset or your actual belief is that you're only worth 75, or you're only worth 50, or whatever that number is going to be. You're going to reach a ceiling that is always going to be your ceiling, and you're going to struggle up until you let go of that belief that 75 or whatever the number is the most that you can make, and accept that you can make more, so that you can actually move to that. I hope that makes sense. But the point that I'm trying to make is really that in order for us to step into the new, whatever it is, there is going to be a moment and a period of time where we're going to hit a block. They call it mental blocks, or identifying limiting beliefs, whatever the case may be. Those blocks that come are not meant to be hindrances. They're meant to be alerts. If you look at it from that perspective, that says, this is the most that I actually believe that I can reach. That's why I'm hitting this wall. So in order to push past that wall, I need to first identify the root of that particular seed, of that belief, deal with it, heal from it, accept it, let it go, so then I can accept a new belief and then push forward. That's where the failure comes in, or that's where perceived failure or the fall comes in, right? Because we're trying to do something and it's not working out the way that we want it to, and we automatically, associate failure with it, or we automatically associate defeat or despair with it, when in actuality, it's just an alert to say, hey, this is your max right now. As the person that you have been, you've reached your max. In order for you to get to the next level, you need to grow new muscles. You need to develop in another way. So you have to let go of whatever kept you at the max so that you can step into this new place.
That's valuable. There are so many people who, man, just getting to that point of saying, okay, I don't have to see this as a failure. I can see this as a moment to shift what I'm doing, or, see what I need to add, see who I may need to add in this instance as well. But we get into this mental battle of, oh my goodness, what if people think I'm not good enough? So if I have to ask for help, then that means that I'm not good enough to get this done. And especially in the first 5 years, you're trying to prove everyone wrong.
Yeah.
It's not that you're trying to prove yourself right. You're focused more on proving everybody else wrong. And when we have the mindset of proving everyone else wrong, instead of just proving ourselves right, like to ourselves, we fall for so much, and we end up exhausted and drained when it comes to, oh my goodness, something came in and kind of knocked me off track. What will people think? Well, many of the people that you're looking at have gone through some of the same things you're going through right now. Or they don't even know because they never tried to go after their dreams.
That's right.
So it's right. It puts us in that weird headspace of, I can't go into this with the same version of who I was, because I have to be able to look at things through a different lens.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now in your journey, what has been an instance where where you saw yourself, now you can look back at it and say, okay, when I shifted my lens, it changed what I was able to do within my business?
Yeah, great question. So early on, I found myself looking at mistakes, right? I found myself stuck in this learning loop, meaning that, because I was coming into entrepreneurship, like for the first time, I felt like, oh my gosh, I need to know everything. So everybody's course on, events or Facebook ads or whatever, like I was signing up for the course, like going through like all of the modules and all this other stuff, implementing, and nothing was working for me, right? And so I found myself in this place where I had to stop learning, right? And even though I was implementing, I was only implementing like in the moment, right? With limited things, with limited understanding or even a clear vision of what I wanted as an outcome. But one thing in particular, when it came to money, and I want to deal with that because I know that that's usually an area where people struggle the most to break through mentally before they even break through it, in the physical financially. I found myself at a place where like I had become so engulfed in, why am I not making money? Why am I not making money? Now, I didn't go into, well, everybody goes into business to make money, but like my desire honestly was to, work in my purpose, like to do the thing that I was created to do and to help the people or serve the people that had been called to me specifically. But again, with all the noise around, you can make this much as an entrepreneur and you should be making this. And if you're not making that, then you're not a good coach, so on and so forth. I found myself falling into the trap of being focused on money. And so I would put out products, I would put out services, right, for the sake of making money, not because I really believed that it would help. It's just, these are the things that I know that people were buying, so I was going to put it out there. And I found myself in this place where even though I was putting all the stuff out, I knew for a fact that people like wanted it and wanted to buy it. I was experiencing a block. Financially, things weren't working out the way that I wanted to. And it was in one moment where I kind of like took a step back. I would say probably for a good 2 months, like I was playing the whole woe is me, like what's going on? Am I cut out for this? Why doesn't it work for me? And then I had a moment where, I had to take a step back and say, okay, you know what? Things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. So rather than focus on the external outcomes or results, what's creating this, right? And I had to look internally to say, all right, if I'm not doing or getting the results that I want, or if things aren't aligned the way that I want it, it's because I've created that, right? Or I'm creating that, or I'm not creating that. So where is the block? And I realized at that moment that I personally had a money block. And I had a course, talk about courses. I had a course that I had taken years ago that I went back to, and it talked about, money blocks and how to overcome them. And one of the sessions or tutorials talked about going back to your first recollection of, your experience with money. And growing up, I grew up poor, immigrant parents, whatnot. So, I grew up understanding, that lack, poverty, all of that stuff existed. But I thought I had overcome that just based on other things that had happened in my life. And so when I went through the course and I started thinking back, it wasn't the fact that, I grew up in a poor family. It wasn't the fact that, we grew up without and I've always had to work hard or anything like that. I remembered a specific incident in which, we were going back to school shopping. And at this point, my siblings had come to the US, and before it was just me. And now my siblings were here and we were back to school shopping and we were in the middle of the store, and I like picked out maybe 3 or 4 outfits. Okay. It wasn't nothing crazy, but I picked out about 3 or 4 outfits, and I went to go ask my dad if I could get these. And immediately my mom turned around and she yelled at me, and she was just like, who do you think you are? Like, it's not just you anymore. Like, she said something to the effect of like, it's not just you anymore. Like, you need to be considerate that we have other people to take care of. And so in that moment, as I'm backtracking now as an adult, what I realized is in that moment, what that seeded for me was that, you know what, you don't deserve to have things, or you don't deserve to have money, right? There are other people who are in need more than you. And as I thought about my actions and my behaviors over the last few years, I realized that, whenever I had money, like I gave it away, whether it was to charity, whether it was to people, whether it was to buy things or whatever the case may be, because that seed of you're not worthy of having money had been planted at 8. I think I was about 7 or 8. It had showed up in so many different ways and so many different aspects of my life where I thought, oh, I'm just a giver. And in actuality, yes, I am a giver, but the trigger for that behavior, the motive behind that behavior sometimes was not always from the right place. So long story short, that's kind of how I got to the point where I had to go back and look at, where that thing was seated, address it, identify it, let it go, and then accept that, you know what, I'm not that 8-year-old girl anymore. I'm in a different place. And yes, I am worthy and deserving of money. And, things really did begin to shift for me in terms of how I saw money, how I saw, myself as a money manager or a resource manager, and how I went about making decisions for my business.
Now, you just shut everything down, right? Oh my goodness. From even the point of the talking about being a immigrant child and that whole aspect, which is something that a lot of people do not discuss. They do not talk about the mindset, because there is a mindset, and we think about the poverty mindset. We think about growing up with lack. They say, okay, well, no, it should inspire you. It should, well, in all reality, yeah, it can inspire you, but there's the flip side of that where it can plant some seeds. And I love that you put it that way, because we think that a lot of times, oh, as an adult, you should be past that already, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you're a quote unquote grown up now, so you should be over it. And the reality is that it's a seed, and a seed that's planted grows.
Yep.
It doesn't disappear. It's under the ground, it's taking root, and as it grows, I always give the illustration that as it grows, the roots are going through every part of your body. So how you handle money, how you speak about money, it could be relationships, it could be anything, how you think about it, how you see it, what you're saying about it. It goes through every bit and part of you. And it really does define who you are, but it doesn't mean that that's where you have to stay.
Exactly. I think we can all go back and look at decisions. And I think that's part of the biggest challenge, right? Because we're so busy and we're doing, very rarely are we forcing ourselves to take that step back and look at, okay, this has been a pattern. Where did this pattern start? Or what is the root of this particular pattern?
I know I had to do the same thing within my own journey, and it was not an easy revelation, because we don't want to say, because this is the other pitfall is, well, then it's my parents' fault.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, obviously, as an adult, right, you can look back and you can see that though parents are flawed, they did the best that they could, right? Like that was their mindset that they were projecting onto you, right? And so you can, at that point, when you can understand, okay, that's where they were, that's what they knew, this is what they were working with, I let that go. Or, you have to be at that place where you have to let that go. But in the moment that you come to the realization, though, you have a choice. You have a choice to remain the way that you've always been, or start taking actions to shift and to change things. It doesn't have to be like, there's a lot of things that, our parents have done to, mess us up, right? And we can go through life, as that wounded little boy or wounded little girl, or we can say, you know what? That's what they seeded, but that's not what I have to continue to let grow like that. I think that's the beautiful part about life. I think that's the beautiful part about entrepreneurship, is that you are developing as your business is developing. It's not just about growing a business. It's not just about making a specific, amount or helping a number of people. It's literally, I feel like your business becomes a reflection of you. So as you grow individually, your business will grow as well. And it will, take new shape, take new form, because you're taking new shape and you're taking new form.
I absolutely love it. Now, one of the things that I asked everyone who comes on to the Speak Easy podcast is, during your journey so far, have you come in contact with anything that you can look back at now and say, yeah, that was a blunder. That was probably not the best choice or the best direction to go in?
Yes. How much time? Look, how much time do we have? One of the things that I'll say, especially in the beginning, and I mentioned it too, like in terms of, getting so overwhelmed with all of the noise and all of the options that are out there around starting your business and all that other stuff. Like I fell for it, bought programs, did it like to the T and didn't get results. And then started, like I mentioned before, questioning, my ability. And one of the things that I would say is that, especially for those who are starting off, it's very important for you to just focus on, okay, who do I want to serve and how do I want to serve them? And like really start with that focus and start building the business from there. There are so many different avenues and so many different like tips and tricks that are out there, which is all great and well. But at the end of the day, what worked for someone else may not necessarily work for you. And that's not a reflection of you. That's not a ding on you. It just means that that's not the journey and the path that you're taking. There are a lot of people out here who they do something, it works for them one time, and now all of a sudden they're the expert and they're teaching you without realizing the consequence of when it doesn't work, what that's doing to you. So I would say, if you found yourself in that learning loop, or you found yourself trying to work through different programs and trying this and trying that and it's not working, you're not broken. It's not that you're not broken. That's not necessarily your journey. Take the tools, take the tips and move forward, but don't let that hinder you mentally and emotionally to cause you to stop. And for those of you who are looking to, break into new areas or new avenues in your business, be okay with letting go of some of that old stuff. So as I mentioned, as we were talking before, part of a blunder, I started in career coaching, and because I had built whatever reputation in career coaching, I've struggled to let that go. And I found, as a blunder, I found that in not letting go, that has actually restricted me and limited me in terms of like who I wanted to serve, the impact that I wanted to make. And I found myself doing working with clients, but not finding real satisfaction or joy out of it because I wouldn't let go of the old version of myself and what I started with. So for those of you who are looking to take that next step, be okay with letting go of the old you, letting go of old services, letting go of old things that you've done, and fully embracing this new whatever it is, service, product, whatever, so that you could serve that next level or layer of people who you're called to serve.
Oh my goodness. I can literally go back right now in my own mind and just think about all of the money that I put out on programs, ebooks,
Girl.
books, webinars, classes, conferences. And I'm like, if I go back and think about all of that money, and I'm like, I could have paid somebody to do different things in my business as
Yep.
opposed to putting out all of this money. But we get into this hamster wheel, or this merry-go-round of saying, I'm doing it for exposure.
Mm,
I'm doing it because, oh, it's great exposure. And we got to think, okay, well, how much exposure do you really need?
right.
Like, you really have to ask yourself that question. And I think that's another thing, that in coaching, we find that there are so many people that they're not telling you these things. They're not putting these things before you and saying, okay, well, how much do you really need? What is it that you really need? Some people are so focused on sharing what it is that they have that they're not really asking, what is it that you need?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny to your point about like spending all of that money on training and all that other stuff and not really getting the results. I it's funny. A couple of these I won't name names, but a couple of these known people out here, like I got into, the programs where like they're supposed to like give you the deep insight, and then you start to learn from them that, oh, well, no, I didn't make that money just doing X. Like I actually had this going on, and I had this going on, and I had this going on. And after a couple of those, it made me realize that, you know what? No one has this thing figured out. Everyone is learning at the same time, or, through their own process and through their own journey. And that took so much pressure off. And then the other thing too, when it comes to starting off, it's so important to focus on building the business. And when I say building the business, that's my way of saying making money, right? There's no point in starting a business and then starting a business and being broke. Like that defeats the entire purpose. If you're going to move or step into that place, make sure that you have a viable product that is going to sell, and focus on that. Then when you start making money, you can reinvest in the business, in learning and training in the things that you need, or hiring experts to do it for you.
That part, oh my goodness, Sabine, you have literally, talk about drop the mic. She dropped it. She dropped bombs on your gems, everything this episode. But guys, I want you to always understand that this is a journey.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no perfect anything. There's no perfect launch. There's no perfect none of the above. There's always going to be some ebbs and flows, as you're going through this journey. Don't forget to, I guess I want to say, enjoy the journey. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're going through this, there's been some times where I've made some huge mistakes. There's been times where I've completely blundered it all, but I'm still here to tell the story because I didn't quit.
That's right.
That's what we're able to share with you. Sabine is still here because she didn't give up, even though she was, behind the scenes, and she looked at them with the side eye. She didn't give up. I found that out when, oh my goodness, I'm gonna tell. Oh, okay, I'm debating on if I should say this. Like, am
Put
I
it
going to
out
need to
there.
call the lawyers for this one, or okay, I'm gonna put it out there. So I found out the hard way that, a lot of people were out here and they were like, oh, and this is how much I made on PayPal, and this is how much is in my PayPal, and look at this and look at that. And then you get excited because you're like, oh my goodness, if they're able to make that much through their PayPal, I can do the same thing. And then I found out that PayPal gives loans.
PayPal credit, yep.
And so some of them weren't really making that amount. They were
That's
getting
what they owe.
loans. And I just said, Well then, that changes everything.
Right.
That changes everything.
Wow.
Because you didn't
Wow.
start at the same level I'm starting at.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the other thing that I would say to that too. And I've seen a lot of that, probably more so on Instagram. People showing copies of statements and,
Their
cards and all that other
1099
stuff.
and everything. Yep.
Yeah, let me tell you something. People who are really actually wealthy don't do that. Like, to me, that is a sign of someone who literally has a poverty mindset. And, that's not from a judgmental space, but that tells me the fact that what you're trying to put out there is as the value that you bring to the table is the amount of money that you make. That tells me that there's a limitation in your mindset right there. And I see so many people falling for that in terms of like, oh, well, this person made such and such this much. If you look at the people who are really doing it, like Tony Robbins will never give you a screenshot of his PayPal statements. Russell Brunson will never put out there how much he's making on ClickFunnels. Like, people who are really doing it and are really moving in that space aren't taking actions like that. So just be conscious and be wary of what people are putting out there as evidence or proof of their impact.
Ouch, y'all felt that? I hope y'all felt that. That brick was brought to you. That brick was brought to you by the Speak Easy podcast. I love it. I absolutely love it. So I want you to let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, where they can find you, and how they can work with you if they're saying, you know what, I'm ready today. How can they get in contact with you?
Absolutely, and thank you. So my website is www.sabinegedeon.com. So that's SabineGedeon.com. Also, too, I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. I do spend more time on LinkedIn than I do on some of the other channels, but you can certainly connect with me there. If there's anything that I said that you have additional questions about or need some clarity, please feel free, reach out to me. Let's connect. And also, too, tomorrow is the launch of my first book, Transform: The Journey to Becoming. So it speaks about my personal journey of transformations throughout this time, and also too within entrepreneurship. So that link will be out on all my social media platforms as well as my website at hopefully 12:01 a.m. On January 1st, 2020.
Oh, y'all make sure that y'all go and check her out. I am super excited. And guys, listen, I love bringing speakers and authors together on this platform. We've had a phenomenal year. It's been absolutely amazing this year. We've had some great guests come on. We've given you some great insight and had some great discussions. Guys, make sure that you let us know just how you love, like, or maybe don't like the episodes that we've been bringing to you by leaving us a review over on Apple Podcasts, or you can leave us a review over on Podchaser. Guys, we are over on Podchaser as well. So for Apple Podcasts, bit.ly/Speak Easy Podcast Show. That is the one, bit.ly/Speak Easy Podcast Show, all lowercase. We would love to hear your point of view on this particular episode and share it out. There's somebody out there that's going through something right now that this episode is going to speak directly to. So with that being said, this is another episode of the Speak Easy Podcast. I'm your host, Altavice Pelzer, that part. And until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.